Well, I tell you what, the Desperados and I are sitting around here in a wonderful recording studio up at the Eekhoornnest in Soest. And I was just figuring, given all those gigs we had, the times we played and the times the rain fell down, I'm going to take you all back to a time. And you want to turn off your TV screens? You want to flick to something else? Don't. Because you get totally screwed up, because if you miss this, you miss the big one. Imagine. Hello there, I'm Chris Simpson from Magna Carta and a friend of the Desperados from the beginning. Well, I used to join them on a Monday night, typical Monday nights in the forest at the bungalow park, the Eekhoornnest in Soest, the home base of the Desperados. And then, do you remember the Monday nights? Danny the rock star, we didn't know it then. You and me and Andrea.
Yeah, we were.
The wind would blow through the pines. There were candles in the cantina and red wine, old tables and stools, and a feeling that truly lent itself to making music. And me being me, and life being life, I'd try and make it down the forest path on a bicycle with a Martin guitar and a bottle of red wine. Happy to say that most times I succeeded. Good Lord, talk about old rock stars. It's very strange looking back at this point in time. The Eekhoornnest in Soest is a piece of heaven. It's a place I've been coming to since 1976, and I like to think that what you're seeing now, folks, what you're seeing now in the surroundings has helped shape the music. There it's primeval, it was a land under the sea.
Maybe Chris already mentioned it, but it's really nice to be in this beautiful place where you meet a lot of kind of people, all international. We had Cubans, we had Mexicans.
Sorry, retake. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry. And I think somebody's dying in the corner.
Sorry. With Yamato, they actually put together a piece of music to actually raise money for the victims of the tsunami which struck so hard and deep across the world. Smooth-tongued Eduardo, a rapper from the Dominican Republic. Andrea from Rome, Italy. And the man with 1,000 faces, almost Pancho Villa himself, yes, Nacho from Mexico. They met at the beginning of 2000. At this school, three studied the Dutch language, for it is essential that you speak it to live in the Netherlands. And Daniel de Jong went to the same high school. The man who slays women at 100 paces.
Can we walk around a little bit? Yeah.
You could almost say it was kind of inevitable. Percussionist Julio Viloria from Venezuela went to the same school, but he joined the band a lot later. Andrea always brought his guitar to birthday parties. A talented fingerstyle player with not more than a strain of classical music in his playing. And it was at Nacho's birthday in 2003 when Daniel, Edward and Nacho decided to take guitar lessons from Andrea. They thought it would be kind of cool to play the guitar at campfires. I asked the guys, hey, after listening to the way it was beginning to sound, hey, why don't you start your own band? And that was it. Without too much discussion, from that point they had one.
But you know something? The great thing we've got in common is we're both so bloody ugly. but we're still giant rock stars, aren't we?
We had a few bongos in the corner of the cantina, and I said, hey, great guys, maybe I can use this instrument. So I started playing a little bit, and somehow we learned each other how to play, and that for me was really interesting.
And they didn't have a real name at the time, so I came up with the highly unoriginal name, the Fricandel Brothers. I mean, beat that. Yes, you can, quite easily. Later on I suggested the Apostles of Lust, which had Daniel on the floor in heaps of laughter, but they decided not to go for that one. I liked it. The name Desperados came from the Antonio Banderas movie Desperado, a film the boys appreciated very much, especially because of the song in the beginning of the film. The name stayed. The footsteps were out on the highway, and the journey had begun. Piers de Jong, a beloved old friend of mine, and father of Daniel, was a big fan and a great friend from the start of the band, and he supported them by giving advice. Most important, and very, very hard to find these days, a rehearsal place to practice. The band used to call him the fifth member, in sheer honour, and indeed he was and is. Sieb Kruska, a kind of a media guy that I've known for a long time too, became another important friend of the band. The acoustic Latin rock sound of the Desperados intrigued Sieb and his wife Yoka, and they helped and advised them through the early aspects of the business. In 2005, the Desperados finished their first album. It was a great experience for the four lads. It became a very simple and basic album. There were two guitars, bass guitar and percussion. Not every member was still totally convinced of the future in a band, and the album was considered a beautiful memory, a kind of a nice story, something when you grow older and beyond it you hand back to the grandchildren. The album had one special guest singing on it, European Song Festival winner and friend Johnny Logan. From Ireland he was, and he sang on two Desperado songs, Just Another Summer and Time Will Tell. He stayed at the bungalow park where Desperados practice, and he joined on the Monday night sessions. In 2005, the man whose name I can't pronounce and always call Ratboud Visser joined the Desperados to play bass. He was kinda good. He performed with them before and during the release of their first album, influenced by jazz music. He studied bass, flute, piano at the Conservatoire in Hilversum. The band began to grow and started to make serious songs like Suavecito.
I like the way you move, the way you dance. I like the way you move when you dance.
I suggested them to add some Latin percussion for the song, and the song reminded me of The Healer on an album by John Lee Hooker when he was backed with by Carlos Santana, and I knew just the man for the job. He's a bundle of energy, he's a complete wow. Even if you ring him up you feel either exhausted or better. Yeah, Eddie Connar, Eddie C, a wonderful fellow and a friend from the past. And the band just loved the Latin flavour, being half Latin itself. They decided to ask old schoolmate Rula Piloria from Venezuela for a rehearsal in 2006, and he never left the band. Matt Barnhorn was the talented violin and mandolin player from Magna Carta and Fairport Convention. He knew the Desperado boys before they even started the group, and he loved to play with them. That was, of course, whenever he was available and he wasn't out with us. In 2007, they signed their first contract with Eddie Owen's record label. Well, it's the way it goes. After 1 year of discussing about which and how many songs they needed to play, the band finally arrived in Studio One of the famous Visselord Studios in December 2008. And this is where they met former producer of The Golden Earring and Anouk, John Sonneveld. They truly are excellent folks, those studios, because I've recorded them myself, but the results were spectacular. And the two songs, Tequila con Limon.
Oh yeah. Everybody wants tequila con limon. Everybody needs tequila con limon. Everybody wants tequila con limon. Everybody needs tequila con limon.
Song for Sue, better known as Neighbour.
I'm in love with my neighbor.
The relationship of managers and artists is a case all too often of triumph or tragedy. And in point of fact, the Desperados took the right turn and decided with Eddie Owens to head off for triumph rather than tragedy and go their own way. Magna Carta made some great records without a drummer, so did the Desperados, but Sven Hassing is here under John's suggestion, a truly great drummer, because they knew they needed it to drive the power behind the Latin American feel of those great songs. Well, it looked like the world was on their feet. Look at that, everyone's having a great time. Well, unfortunately, Radboud Visser, well, he had to leave the ranks, the Desperados, because of, shall we say, domestic complications, which led to a gap in the ranks, so suddenly they needed a bass player. Now, gentlemen, if you're watching that, would you look the other way? No, you wouldn't. From the pine trees to the recording studio, from audiences excited at their music to feelings of business problems and inertia, and there was going to be an album made, then the breakup with Eddie Owens, and they decided, do we go on or do we stop? I remember those conversations. I remember despondency. I remember uncertainty. I remember in that very same cantina where the songs were born and the brotherhood and love of these people became so evident. There was a tension and uncertainty and how can we go on? What I love about them is they did.
Music for me is a way to express myself. I said it many times. It's somehow it's a way to take your emotions.
The joy of the Desperados was a kind of an innocence in the way the stories came together. This is all about heart and soul. This is where it came from. It wasn't born in an upstairs apartment in Amstelveen. It came out of here. What I say about the Desperados is that having known them for a lot of years now, and loving them as people, and above all respecting them as people, is I've seen the train smashes, I've seen the anger, I've seen the fists going down on tables, and no deletions please, they can get totally pissed off, but they came back and come back through love of music and a respect and love for the music they do. And if you don't respect what you do, then can I say from my point of Chris from Magna Carta and all the wonderful people that come down the ranks of this band, if you don't respect what you do, get out of the business, go home and shell peas.
'cause I got some. Looking for money, I ain't got none. Looking for money, 'cause I got some. Looking at me like you want some. You're lucky 'cause I got some. Looking for money, I ain't got none. Dando cuenta de la forma en que me mira. Cada vez que tú lo haces, tú sabes que me dominas. Ya mamacita, pongamos las cosas claras. Dime qué es lo que tú quieres, que te veo con tanta gana. Me pones lo que quieres, yo no vengo para darte. Pero si tú quieres amor, a mí me sobra por tirarte. Así que tú decides si me quieres aceptar. Pero no pierdas el tiempo que no te voy a esperar. You're looking at me like you want some. You're lucky 'cause I got some. Looking for money, I ain't got none. Lucky 'cause I got some. Looking for money, I ain't got none. Looking for money, mamacita, lo que tú estás buscando, mira la forma en que me mira, tú sabes que me domina, así que pégate de espalda y dame de esa adrenalina para que juntos bailemos y me alegre toda la vida. Are you digging my style? 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 Lucky 'cause I got some. Looking for money, I ain't got none. Looking for money, 'cause I got some. Looking at me like you want some. Lucky 'cause I got some. Looking for money, I ain't got none. Looking for money. Dime mamacita, si tú te quedas conmigo, que la vida es muy corta para pasármela solito. Así que tú decides si me quieres aceptar, pero no pierdas el tiempo.
The story of Desperados excites me because, and it's wonderful because I love them as people. But above all, I wonder where they're going to go. What I got to ask you boys, where is that road?
I was upright, clean, and not the same as I am today. It's true. If you want to know why, I got smashed in an Eekhoornnest football game. I've never been the same since they beat my head against a tree and tied me round a lamppost. That's the way they play football over there. Oh, those games were savage, those games were fun, and everybody ended up covered with broken bones and blood and pieces of other people's intestines wrapped round their throats, but all in the name of sport. We had a good time. And Danny was picking a mean guitar and figure on being a superstar, and then suddenly he was cut short in his career by a woman who told him that his Dutch accent sounded like a cow ploughing through the back end of a snowplow. So he tried singing English after that and did kinda well, but he was upstaged by the Mexican who got it all wrong end up but sounded so cute. Meanwhile, Andrea, picking guitar and designing cathedrals that the Dutch didn't want because they don't like Italian cathedrals, so he took round to talking to people and just selling condoms on the street and anything to keep body and soul together. Which just goes to prove that Desperados are a bunch of phenomenal guys. That was my song, Talking Eekhoornnest Blues. 10 past 11 is past 11.